Did you watch the sports scene highlights on Sunday night? Were you at the game on Sunday? Then you go home and you watch the sports scene highlights, and you just discovered that it was nothing like the game you attended. No, not in terms of the action on the field, but the atmosphere round about it. I thought it was absolutely amazing at the end of that game on Sunday, and it happens a lot when you're at a game. And it's live on Sky, for example. You beat Celtic an Old Firm game at Ibrox, and then you go home and you have a few drinks and all that. You want to enjoy yourself, and you've recorded the live coverage on Sky because you've got a million cameras there and fantastic microphones, great production values. It's never going to be the same as actually being in the stadium, but it's enough for you, especially with a few drinks. Crank up the volume a bit. You can convince yourself almost that you're back in the stadium. You can feel the buzz. It's enough to properly relive it. And even then, though, it must be said, even then, if you then watch the Sky coverage back and then you go on and you watch the sports scene highlights of the coverage, there's an extra remove. It's kind of like they've put a muffler on the whole thing. The sports scene, I don't know if it's a kind of voiceover commentary. It's not an as live commentary, so they have to do something in their wee studios there that takes the atmosphere away. But I felt as if that really went an extra level. It was as if on Sunday night the BBC had filmed our game through double glazing, or had put a big kind of bit of mesh and gauze or something around all the microphones in the stadium, almost just to kind of try and silence it a bit. There was no feeling. It gave you could hear Penny Arcade, one of the renditions of Penny Arcade, but the Penny Arcade that I heard on Sunday that I was taking part in was coming from the soul. It was coming out of our bones. It was coming out of the collective guts of the entire Rangers support, and it just seemed to be all that you could hear for the last 4 minutes of injury time around those two goals that went in as the place went totally crazy, and we heard the result from Tynecastle, and it was a real sense of belief. Maybe it's just Jonathan Sutherland just being, I hate the fact that Rangers are right back in the middle of the title race. There was a general kind of depressing air round about Sports Scene's presentation. Andy Halliday being the only person that was properly enjoying it, but I just felt as if it wasn't communicated properly, and I'm wondering, it's quite opposite, because I'm wondering if there's a real sense among the Rangers support, that we're going to win the title. Was it enough? Was it just enjoying the moment, enjoying the fact that we haven't stopped getting ourselves involved in the title? We didn't knock ourselves out of the title race, as opposed to any proper belief that we're going to go for it. It certainly felt like that at the time with those, but maybe just relief at sealing the deal with those final two goals of the game. But we had a rock and roll kind of performance against Celtic at Parkhead, where we came out, we were losing the game at half time. We came out the second half and just blasted them away. Electric football, gone for the jugular, tremendous to watch. There's a real kind of spirit about us, a real intent, a real threat from us in that game. But Celtic sacked their manager that day. We had, I think it's been brilliant progress, but all the spectacular in Danny Röhl's progress with Rangers has been contained in the relentlessness and the overall form and the kind of comfort of the performances when you look back on them. There's not been a lot of spectacular football involved. There's been enough. It's spectacular enough for me, the kind of football we're playing at this moment, because it's just so competent, and that is a very big thing for Rangers these days, especially considering the way we started this season. But there's no those moments of kind of high emotion that you need, that kind of timestamp the progress to a league title. We had it against Celtic at Parkhead, and we definitely had it, I would say, in the final 4 minutes of that game on Sunday there. But it's difficult to know what will we chat about that? That's the whole point of the pod. This is your fat ek. Don't worry, there's only 3 more midweek games to go, so the number of pods will calm down after we go to Fir Park in a couple of weeks. And there is a transfer window coming to its denouement in the next few days, and we have just gone above Celtic into within 4 points of leaders' hearts on the back of a remarkable run of wins and clean sheets. So if I can't put on an extra podcast this week, when can I? And this means I can make the Porto preview pod an hour shorter for you when that goes out tomorrow. So if I get all the Dundee game fallout done in a separate pod, so you benefit in the long run, and nobody's asking you to watch this anyway, are they? I mean, do I look like I even care if you watch this podcast? Nobody's holding a gun to your head and saying you've got to watch the Fat Egg podcast, but I definitely get the feeling that a few of you are thinking, I could do without this, but I better watch it, I better send him a message. He looks like the kind of guy that self-harms if folk don't get in touch to say that was a great podcast. I'm like, well, if you want to believe that, that's up to you. I'm not going to I'm going to disagree with that. All I said was that the only way I will ever stop podcasting about Rangers is if I die. So if there's no podcasts coming from me in the next few weeks, it won't be because I've got bored of it. It's because you stopped watching and ignored my warning. Dundee getting put to the sword at Ibrox. Debrief pod coming to you in association with Gersnet. Check out Gersnet, the podcast. It was up on Sunday night, still up there on the Gersnet YouTube channel and all other platforms on which you get your Gersnet pods. It was Jamie, it was Craig, and it was Alan. And I'm sorry, I forgot who was on the podcast after the game on Sunday because I was so emotional, wasn't I? I was so emotional. I was just emoting. You know, if you can fake the sincerity, that's how you get to the top in the podcasting game. I'm sponsored by that, and I'm sponsored by there ain't no love, no Montagues or Capulets, just banging tunes and DJ sets. And I'm sponsored by Bridges, really good bridges and songs. I'm not very technically knowledgeable when it comes to how songs are put together, how lyrics are put together, all the terminology, but I do know that bit's called the bridge. You know, you get your opening verse and you get the chorus, you get another verse, you get the chorus, and it's traditional at that point or thereabouts. You go into some sort of bridge that kind of deviates from the normal routine that you've just built up in the previous 2 minutes. Maybe it's a guitar solo or something like that, whatever. You know, you know I'm going to lose and gambling's for fools, but that's the way I like it, baby. I don't want to live forever. Ding, 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 ding. And it's into the kind of guitar solo, Ace of Spades, Motorhead there. You could probably tell that from the... I wasn't playing it there, but that was me doing my own rendition. But I think that's the bridge there, and it just deviates. But when it comes back in, that really good bridges and really good songs, when it comes back into the chorus and the verses, they've suddenly got an extra appeal about this. Oh my God, Rangers won by 3-0 the other day, and they've been keeping clean sheets, and they've been winning league games, winning all their games, the last 8 games that they've won across 3 different competitions. So there's nothing essentially different going on. But my God, we varied it. By the decisive goal comes in injury time. Then we bang another one in on top of that, and bang another one in on top of that really quickly, and it created it was like a little bridge. It was like it's that feeling you get when there's 2 quick goals. There's a quick goal, one goal after the other, you know, in a really dramatic fashion. It doesn't always have to be like you make it 2-0 to seal the game and then you get a quick third to celebrate it late on in the game. Sometimes an equaliser, then a winner before a late equaliser, then a winner before full time. Most famous example probably in British football the last few decades been Manchester United winning the 1999 Champions League, only the second time they won the European Cup, the European Cup / Champions League, and of course they equalised late on, but probably the tens of thousands of Manchester United fans in the Nou Camp on the 26th of May 1999, that was the day I get married. I get married on a Wednesday, and that's why I remember that day. It's not because I'm a big Manchester United fan, but probably even instinctively the only previous European Cup final, the big one that they'd been involved in was when they beat Benfica 4-1 at Wembley, but they would all know that it was 4-1 after an extra time. You know, so they probably thought, well, one each feels natural. That feels the way it should go. We've equalised. It's one each. We're going to get the extra time again to win the European Cup. But didn't he take another corner and bang? Solskjaer's won it, and Solskjaer's won it. You know, Clive Tilsley, I think a bit of a Manchester United fan, but getting carried away with because it's just such an overwhelming moment, just recovering from the high drama of the late equaliser, and then do it again. But it's got. It doesn't have to be like an equaliser on a late winner. We had a different version of it in my favourite football match of all, my favourite moment of all time. From a non-personal point of view, but I've got to say that. One of my favourite moments of all time when we beat RB Leipzig by 3-1 in the second leg of the UEFA Europa League semi-final in 2022. What a night at Ibrox! It was like a different stadium. It was the same, but it was so different. There was a lot of emotion in the air, obviously because of Jimmy Bell to start with, and just the actual moment itself. We got a chance to get to a European final, but we're 1-0 down from the first leg. One of the most beautiful tifos I've ever seen in my life in the Broomlin that night. But we came in the first 20 minutes. You're always thinking, are they going to choke? Are they not going to be up for this properly? And we get a goal after 20 minutes. It was quite a decent time into the game. It's 21 minutes. I think Tav scores, but it's Tav as well, who has scored in every game at Ibrox in this post-group stage run that we're going on. So it automatically feels magical, the Jimmy Bell thing is. And you're just like, yeah, we're in the game. We've levelled the tie. It's going to be competitive. We're not going to let ourselves down as a team anyway, that's for sure. But then they're going to score another one like 2-3 minutes later. Glenn Kamara gets another one, and we're winning the tie. And it was pandemonium. And I don't mean darkness visible, I mean like lightness visible. It was pandemonium. It was gorgeous. crowd surfing, everything. And it was like the way the game actually panned out, the way the tie was decided. And Kunku has to score to level the tie into the second half, almost as if to say there's got to be more drama. We'll do a different type of drama now, so John Lundstrom can get the late winner. But it's those two quick goals, one goal after another. What else can replicate that feeling? Like we had it on Sunday, it's the nerves, the deep, deep nerves. Are we going to make it? Are we going to get the 3 points? Celtic and Hearts have done their bit. It's on us so much. Dundee score a late equaliser and it'll just be horrific. All the doubts will just come back. Doubts since 2012 will come back to properly haunt us, to drag us all down. It'll be totally depressing. And then we get that goal. The joy, the relief, and before you've kind of choked down that celebration, there's another one on top of it. It's orgasmic. I know it's that 56-year-old morbidly obese baldy bloke talking about sex is disgusting, but it's that pseudo-sexual thing that you get through the football. And I was thinking, where else can you experience this feeling of one goal and another? And it's the bridge. It's when proper music can be trance-like, and you see it on young Alex Turner's face when the Arctic Monkeys are doing I Bet You Look Good in the Dance Floor. And it's because it's like the Old Grey Whistle Test studio, the video to it as well, like the Old Grey Whistle Test studio. But the first time I heard that song, and I know it's like a cliche now, especially for old guys like me. Oh, you like the Arctic Monkeys? It's your last attempt at being a hipster. And there's an unashamed attempt here to try and correct. It's pathetic. There's no point in trying to correct what happened to my reputation as tarnished as it already was. On Sunday when I revealed that I'd been to see Val Doonican. Great Irish entertainer there, he's rocking chair and all that. I saw him at Skegness when I was 15 years old in 1985. I'm sure it was 1985. A year later, 16 years old, I saw the Smiths at the Magnum Leisure Centre in Irvine, and that's the coolest thing I've ever done in my life, probably, and one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced in my life, seeing the Smiths live at the height of their powers. And I'm always slipping it into conversation, because the high emotion, the emoting, the sharing, the trying to fake the sincerity to be a top podder that I was doing on Sunday after that game. I just let it slip. I've got to be honest with you guys. There's a dark secret I have to tell you, but I feel we're all properly united today. We'll feel together. I've been to see Val Doonican in concert, and a lot of people just ghosted me since then. I had seen that, so now I saw Val Doonican when I was 15, I saw the Smiths when I was 16, and I saw the Arctic Monkeys when the Arctic Monkeys were like 15 and 16 years old, like a robot from 1984. In 1984, I was 15, and Alex Turner and the Arctic Monkeys were all 15-year-old when they formed the Arctic Monkeys. There's maybe a wee thing, I don't know, but it was, they would be in their 20s by the time I saw them. In, I think it's 2007, 2008. It's a Friday night. It was the Carling Academy, now the O2 Academy, in Eglinton Street, just across the water at the bottom of the city centre there. You drive past on your way to Hampden and stuff like that. I think that's the only time I've ever been in the Carling or the O2 Academy. It was a kind of tour of hip young bands at the time. I know that I saw Interpol the same night. They were all doing just like doing really quick sets. It's kind of high turnaround. It's like a variety performance thing. But the Arctic Monkeys came out and did a bit that You Look Good in the Dance Floor. And it was my mate that we worked with, a really good pal of mine. He'd got his tickets, a big crowd of his tickets, and I was there with about, himself included, half a dozen to about 10 Celtic casuals, myself and you, and the only Rangers supporters there. We were a crowd of Celtic casuals. It's that whole thing, the old stereotype. Yeah, they're all lawyers, and these casuals, they're all lawyers and accountants and all that. Well, these guys were, that's why we were there. Bankers and that's why, obviously, we were hanging about with them in the first place. But that was quite a thing to be to see the Arctic Monkeys. But it's that bridge. You've heard the first verse. This is different. You hear the chorus. This is bloody brilliant, and you get the verse again, and you get the chorus again. This is lovely. Rangers just keep winning games. We keep winning games and keep clean sheets. But then there's just this variation on it, where it's 2 quick goals to seal the win, and then to show that we're going up to 3-goal wins now. They haven't done a lot of 2-goal wins in the back of a couple of 1-goal wins. And it's when he goes into, There Ain't No Love, No Montagues or Capulet. It's just banging tunes and DJ sets it. And and by the time you get back into the chorus and verse, it sends it, as I say, it adds to it. It makes the rest of the song even better. Doesn't always work. Sometimes the bridge is just a kind of boring guitar solo or something like that. I love Led Zeppelin's Rock and Roll. Been a long time since the rock and roll. I love all that stuff. love a bit of Led Zeppelin. I particularly love that song. It's a really uplifting song. It's tremendous. And the bridge here is really decent. Of course, I got some guy, Jimmy Page, James Paggy or something. He's doing the guitar. I don't know if it never came in the guy. He seems quite good at it, quite decent. But it's not the most electric. Well, it's literally electric, but it's not the most scintillating guitar solo that I've ever heard. But by the time you get back into it, it carries on the pace and just varies it enough. By the time you get back into the chorus and the verses, you're just ready to rock. It's kind of orgasmic. But the best example I can think of off the top of my head, and I think it's because you see it in Alex Turner's face when he's hitting the bridge, that part of the song, and I bet you look good in the dance floor. It's just, you can see he's losing it, and I'm losing it as well. When you watch, it's a tremendous song. You get a proper rush. It's the essence of what I'm talking about. And I went to see with these boys at Celtic, and we were in the Crystal Palace. And no Montagues and Capulets, of course, that's a reference to Romeo and Juliet. And you get the march of the Montagues and the Capulets from the Prokofiev. The ballet, have I seen that? But I have seen Romeo and Juliet. Shirley Henderson was playing Juliet, a young Shirley Henderson, and it was a boy for Brookside who was the rapist on Brookside. He wasn't a real life rapist, but he was playing a rapist on Brookside. He was Romeo, and it was at the Citizens. And they came into when I was doing theatre studies at Glasgow Uni. I mean, that was just one of the modules. I don't love it at all. I just thought it was just studying theatre. It turned out you did have to do a bit of acting towards the end of the course to get your marks and all that. But, that was brutal. But they come in, so it's a big thing. Any kind of act that was doing the rounds in Glasgow, the Citizens, they got them in for one of the lectures, and they were talking to us and all that. Shirley Henderson. And then we went to see them. We all get tickets through the uni, discounted tickets, but to go and study, but to go and see Romeo and Juliet at the Citizens 2 nights in a row to start a famous Shakespeare play. And when Shirley Henderson was doing the death scene, she's in 24 Hour Party People, really famous Scottish actress, and she's in 24 Hour Party People, one of my favourite films of all time, and on that, one of the coolest films ever made. And then she's doing Juliet, the death scene, famous, and we all started laughing. Everybody laughed because we'd seen a lot of theatre. We'd been doing heavy duty theatre, did a lot of Beckett and all that as well. And it was just, she stopped the and she just looked up at us like she was going to kill us, which was good. She didn't look like she was going to disappear into tears and all that. She's hardly. But then we're back the following night and she nailed it. She was absolutely brilliant, standing ovation. I think we all felt ashamed of ourselves as well. But how'd you get to the Citizens? I've been to Citizens to see plenty of things, but how'd you get to Citizens? You go to Bridge Street, and I saw the Bridge Street Underground, and I saw the Arctic Monkeys at the Carling. But you also go to Bridge Street right next to Bridge Street Underground. You go in the bridge, the best bridge in music. Is it the best? Am I just making this up because it's coincidental? But no, I saw the Arctic Monkeys at the Carling Academy, now the O2 Academy, right next to Bridge Street Underground. But I didn't go to Bridge Street Underground when I went to see the Arctic Monkeys. We were on the Crystal Palace after our work, me and you and all these Celtic casuals, and we're in the Crystal Palace getting bevied, and then we walked across the bridge. We walked down Jamaica Street and across the bridge, Glasgow Bridge, Jamaica Street Bridge, and then down Bridge Street and then down Eglinton Street to get there. And it's quite, I think about that, I get a total rush. It's like coincidence upon coincidence. And it's just like when Rangers bang in a goal and then they get another goal and you get that total rush that can't quite deal with itself, and it gets kind of, how dramatic was it? What does it actually mean, folks? Does it mean we're going to win the league, or does it not? My name's Alec Anderson. Oh, Danilo, Parfos are calling from Sao Paulo and down the Copeland Road. Your legs have gone, but your wages are not falling. It's you, must go, and I will see it on Sky Sports News before 11 o'clock next Monday. Only 26-year-old, no 27 until April, Danilo, and his legs have gone. We're all thinking that. Had a few injuries, horrific facial injury, of course, at McDermott Park. He scored a goal. Did he score the goal as he took that injury from a player? I can't remember the guy's name, that St Johnstone player, but he did the same thing to somebody at Dens Park, just getting in late, just suicidally or negligently late on somebody later on that season. But that was Danilo, the first of his injuries. It's not quite worked out for him. He's Brazilian. He only cost 6 million, and we're now thinking we might get about 2 million of that back because Parfos, the Cypriot, I take it it's all Russian money, the Cypriot league now, so infected with a whole lot of Russian money. I don't know if these are Russian dissidents or Russian gangsters or it's Putin that's running them or whatever, but there's a lot of Russian money in the Cypriot setup. I don't know if Paphos are the same, but they're in the Champions League anyway, doing very well for themselves, and they have apparently offered, according to Chris Jack of the Herald of the Rangers Review, they've offered £2 million to buy Danilo, which is about £1 million more than I thought we could, at least twice as much as I thought we were ever going to get for him. Nijmegen, NEC Nijmegen, they're NEC Nijmegen, they're also rumoured to want him on loan, and he's played in the Netherlands before. Got him from Feyenoord, didn't we? We got him from Feyenoord. Played in the Netherlands, so maybe that interests him. Maybe he's put some roots down there. I don't know, but they were only wanting a loan deal. The bridge at Nijmegen, the bridge too far. Operation Market Garden. I don't know if he's going to go there. We would like him to go to Paphos if that's the kind of money they're offering, because number 99, his Rangers career's melting. He's flaking out. I've written all this down as if that's. Why would you ever think of saying something like that, Alec? It's just it's pathetic. But his celebration on Sunday, quite heartbreaking. I'm talking about watching the game on Sports Scene at the time where he scored that second goal. Dundee just gifted it, something you're wanting so badly, then it just gets presented to you on a plate. And fair play to Danilo. We do not have a cutting edge up front. We are not burying a lot of our chances this season, and he's had to run at it with his slightly slower pace these days. He's still got a bit of a run bearing in on goals, a lot of time to think about it, but he's slotted it away beautifully from the edge of the box to seal the deal. And we're off on about all over the place in the stands. It was very, very emotional, as I say. The relief more than anything else at that point. But I didn't notice until I saw on Sports Scene that night, on the Sports Scene highlights, that his celebration was, well, he wasn't celebrating in any way, shape or form. Very, very sad. Could be raging because he's not getting a game, because he's been pushed to like third choice striker by Danny Röhl, despite scoring that wonderful goal, a typical Danilo goal. A lot of technical craft, very slow though, but very technically adroit. Very accurate and really easy on the eye. The goal he scored against Hibs at Easter Road to give Danny Röhl to get him off to a flyer at the start of his Rangers management career. His dad in the crowd that night, of course, leading the choir in the away section at Easter Road. Fantastic stuff, and really redolent of what we get from Danilo. They're talking about it in the Rangers Review today. I'm talking to you on Tuesday night, but they're talking about it on Tuesday morning in the Rangers Review, and it's true that he's such an outgoing guy. He's a lovely guy. Scored a third goal against Celtic. Was it the 3-0 win over Celtic last January at Ibrox? A month before that, he'd scored in the League Cup final against Celtic at Hampden. So he scored big goals for us, but he just never quite lived up to the billing because of injury. It looks like it was because of injury, and he seemed quite sad, as if he was on his way, as if this was a bit too emotional for him. He couldn't quite say goodbye, but he knew he was going to be leaving Rangers as he scored that goal on Sunday. It looks like we're supposed to be getting in Ryan Nadiri. Now, Danilo might have left or might have confirmed that he's no intention of leaving, and Ryan Nadiri might have signed for us or might have signed for Borussia Mönchengladbach or something by the time you hear this podcast, because we are in the middle of the final maddest week of the January transfer window. It's all kind of happening quite quickly. But at the time of recording this, it's a chap called Ryan Nadiri. He's either 6'4" and we're bidding 2.6 million for him, or he's 2'6" and we're bidding 6.4 million for him. Whatever. It's good to see finally Danny Röhl's exploiting that East German market. Danny Röhl, Ryan Nadiri plays for Hansa Rostock. You know, the Hanseatic. They're named after the Hanseatic League. Rostock up there, part of the old Hanseatic League. Their badge is one of the ships, the cogs, the old ships that used to do the Hanseatic. They're the last ever champions of East Germany. No, it's a bit of commerce between Northern European teams. It's quite nice. Quite nice the way it's working out. But they're the last ever champions of the DDR Oberliga, the old East German league. Hansa Rostock, the last time to win that was 1991. Before, and Danny Röhl played for FSV Zwickau, who used to be Horst Zwickau, he says, checking his notes, who won the first ever. They won the first. I thought it was a team from Zwickau that won the first ever. I just had to check it. Okay, that won the first ever East German league title back in the 50s, 1951 or 48. They won it. They won the first one, and there's a nice bit of. I feel it's quite a nice coincidence there that we're supposed to be bidding for Ryan Nadiri from the last ever champions of East Germany. Now in the German third division, the Dry Bundesliga Dry, whatever they call it. Last time I saw a Bundesliga Dry game, it was still called the Nordrhein. No, the Regional Liga Nord. Regional Liga Nord. It was Fortuna Düsseldorf. Fortuna Düsseldorf against Karl Zeiss Jena at the Paul Janus Stadium. And Jörg Alberts was playing back end of his career. He was playing the old German third division when it was a regionalised thing still. But he's scored a few goals, apparently. This big striker, big physical unit. 6'4" supposed to be. So it's nice. Remember Giovanni van Bronckhorst? We're just no signing any Dutch players. That became a thing. And the things we get excited about, decide to get an agenda and get really. But that was Gio's no signing any Dutch players. Why we not exploiting that Dutch market? It's really okay. Well, that's nobody's bothered their arse at the fact that Danny Röhl of East Germany isn't exploiting the East German market. But there we go. So we're supposed to. I think they want more money. They're wanting us to up the bid a bit. But if we get $2 million for Danilo and we're spending $3 million on getting Ryan Nadiri in, that's good. And people are also straight away getting upset about why we're not going for the fella for the Zimbabwean guy from Motherwell, Mashwanisi. Why are we not trying to get him? It's like, well, we're getting somebody. Maybe we're going to get him as well. It's just like, don't buy that guy because that might mean we're not going to buy anybody. You just end up no buying anybody, trying to get perfection as opposed to making sure we get somebody, and we've got to get other players in, but we definitely need something more up front. So it looks like we're bidding for him, and I think it would be a good move. Apart from anything else, you've got Ryan Naderi's walls. Maybe he's going to go into the wall. Opposition free kicks to try and block them, or he'll go into there, try and get into their wall, use his physique to our free kicks. That will work something. Ryan Naderi, Ryan Naderi's Nads are hairy. There'll be something we can put together out of that name. But a new German striker, I'd be quite up for that. Could we get Derek Cornelius to gift him swap him the 13 jersey? So he's not going to be a Gerd Müller, obviously, but just to have a German wearing number 13 playing up front for Rangers would be quite nice. We definitely need more firepower. If he's just coming in as the third choice striker to replace Danilo, then I'd rather have an up and coming young man that can be worked on. Look at what we've done with Emmanuel Fernandez, and having. Unfortunately, I hate to say this about Danilo, but I mean, because he's not an old man, he's still got plenty of football left in him, but he seems to be going backwards. He's just not got the fitness or the speed that we need, the physicality that Danny Röhl, apart from anybody else, is craving in this Rangers team. So interesting stuff. I also noticed I forgot to mention the fact that Skov Olsen on Sunday there against Dundee was wearing number 7, the classic outside right number. That was quite nice. And Chukwan is wearing 42, so 42 was he's sitting in midfield alongside Nico Raskin at 42 and 43. And we're wanting to up the physical profile of our players. We'll get 43 Nico Raskin. It's a postcode. It's a Liège postcode. So we've got two guys the size that their midfield's now the size of 2 postcodes. That doesn't work, Alex. Again, does not work. Anyway, how you doing, folks? Welcome to the Fat Egg Podcast, the pod that can't tell the difference between Steely Span and Steely Dan, but can tell the difference between Heracles Almelo and Hercules of Alicante. Probably because it's 2 different words. There's just 2 different names altogether. It's quite easy to tell the difference between them. Doesn't mean you're a specialist. But I did admit to folk that I couldn't tell the difference between Genk and Ghent. And we've played Genk now, and I still can't really tell the difference between them. I think we need to play them at their stadium. We need to see us at their stadium to log in properly, to care about a game at their 2 different grounds, to probably get it in my mind. I've admitted here before I can't tell the difference between Crawley Town and Stevenage Borough. And I think they've dropped the borough. And I know that. And I know that they've got 2 different kits, and they're both from the kind of southeast. But I can't differentiate between them. I've not seen enough of them. I need to watch more EFL highlights. The 2 teams that come out the non-league into the English league system when I was an adult, and by that point I'd stopped being a kind of sponge for football and information. I just can't tell the difference between them. So I don't know what that boast is supposed to mean. Do you think there's a Dutch podcaster something like that who's given it? A fat, baldy Dutch guy right now who's going, it's my podcast, but I can't tell the difference between Queen's Park Rangers and Queen's Park Rangers. And that's good. But they know their football, don't they? They know they know their groups and they know their music. So the Dutch know their music. Focus. So, we're doing a bit of signing. We're doing a bit of trading. JD Gassama also not really celebrating. Didn't notice this either. It's not been spoken about. He's not really celebrating his goal. Absolute cracker that he scored at the end of that game that sent the place completely nuts on Sunday. They're making it 3-0 against Dundee with a typical cut and run off the left and curling in with his right foot. Is he just pissed off at not getting picked? Is he pissed off that he didn't start the game because he's played more games for Rangers than anybody else this season? I'm sure it's 39 games. I don't know if maybe it's to do with substitutes appearances as opposed to starts or whatever. But people saying he's the second biggest number of appearances for Rangers this season. But I think it's only Tav and Jack Butland that are kind of rivaling him for appearances. JD Gassama, and he's invaluable. I love him. A lot of people were saying they want to sell him, but apparently Villarreal have been in. We know Villarreal come in for him. Chris Jack today on Rangers Review confirming that Bruges and the MLS, not the MLS, just one organisation who buy players for all the different branches. They'd shown interest in JD Gassama, but the worrying one was Monaco. AS Monaco have come in with a bid of £10 million upwards, 8-figure bid, and apparently we have knocked that back. I think if it was 20 million, perhaps we wouldn't be knocking it back, but it's good. It's good to see us flexing our financial muscle. Maybe Monaco will come back with another bid and we'll take it. But I think we need Gassama. I think 39 appearances and 7 goals from what I can see. Our top scorer is Tav on 9 goals. He scored against Panathinaikos in Athens. He scored against Sturm Graz in Austria. He's scoring away from home in Europe. It doesn't matter if we're drawing the game and going through or losing the game. He's coming up. And I think that's the second time he's made it 3-0 against Dundee. That's his only 2 league goals have come against Dundee. He obviously is a born Dundee United fan, big in the Mauritanian Dundee United Supporters Club. But he's both curlers into the far side. Anyway, he's made it 3-0 against Dundee twice. That's his only league goals. But he scored a lot of it. He scored the couple of goals against Polzenia at Ibrox as well. When he's on his game, he's absolutely sensational. But he wasn't bought by Danny Röhl. He was bought by Russell Martin, I think, because he was playing in the training pitch next to us at St George's while Kevin Thelwell found out that Sheffield Wednesday were having a fire sale. I think, I'll take that fella there. But he's just done remarkably for us. And when Rangers were struggling under Russell Martin, I saw him going, keeps plugging away. And I thought maybe on Sunday, for the first time, I saw a bit of huffiness for him in terms of his play, that he wasn't. I don't think he was giving it his all when he was playing on that right-hand side again, because he wants to play on the left. But when he went on to the left, he goes and scores that goal. So his kind of muted celebration might have been him just being a bit, yeah, that's what I can do. If you pick me out there, that's what I'll do for you. Tell you, see, that's all. That's how easy it is. Play him in the right place, that's what I'll get. Or it might be he's about to leave as well. I don't know. But I'm quite happy to keep JD Gassama, and it's nice to know that we've got the financial muscle to knock back all these big bids that we're getting from, but it might not continue. My snagging list for that over-emotional post-match reaction the other day, Othello Asgard, I couldn't remember who had put the ball in for Nico Raskin to get fouled for the penalty that opened the scoring, and it was a nice bit of work between Skov Olsen, the new signing, and Othello Asgard, who I think Othello Asgard's definitely coming on to a game these days. He's my other snagging items. Well, Danny Röhl said, I'm a guy who in his post-match interview, his post-match presser, I'm a guy who, it was a poorly finished sentence. His English let him down. Was, I'm a guy who be on front foot, is the exact quote, but he said, I'm a guy who wants my team to be on the front foot. And I just, after what I'd said about Liam Rossignol on my Saturday night preview pod for that game, I'd said that I hate managers because Liam Rossignol I'm just the kind of guy who, anybody in life who says I'm the kind of guy who, Danny Röhl, I'm the kind of person who this, that or the other. Why are you talking about yourself like that? You're literally telling us to have an image of you. Just judge me as the kind of person who... No, I'm immediately just going to judge you as the kind of person who says, I'm the kind of person who... And then I said this, and 24 hours later, Danny Röhl says exactly the same thing. I'm a guy who... But he's been asked a question, and it's just a translation, and he wasn't meaning it. There's no ego coming through. It was just his use of English. So he didn't actually say, I'm not the kind of guy, or I am the kind of guy who... But after what I said about Liam Rossignol on Saturdays, it's a yellow card. I think if he talks about himself in the third person, that's it. He's going to have to go. I don't care about the results. If he gives it... Danny Röhl does not like having that kind of player in a Danny Röhl team, because a Danny Röhl team plays the Danny Röhl system. If he starts on that kind of stuff, then it's just he's going to have to go, irrespective of results. I did catch Val Doonican in Skegness. I did see Val Doonican in Skegness. It wasn't code. I wasn't trying to say when I was 15 I caught VD in Skegness. I caught the Val Doonican concert. I wasn't trying to make out that was a bit of a player. That was years later before there was something else. I talked to Chukwani Andy Halliday on Sports Scene was saying basically the opposite of how I'd assessed Tochi Chukwuani's first start for Rangers when him and Scott Wilson made their kind of starting debuts. And Chukwuani had come on as a substitute against Annan. I said he was kind of holding back a bit, and he wasn't doing that. Like the Diamandi thing, when him and Raskin play together, Diamandi will push on in front of him. He was playing it too safe and all that, whereas Andy Halliday says no, he was pushing on all the time. He was trying to find a pass, and he had a great debut. So I think we'll take Andy Halliday's word for it. And that guy who scored in the Scottish Cup final and the Challenge Cup final, I think we'll take his word for it as opposed to mine. So apologies to Chukwuani. Good news for us. He did have a great debut. Anything else? Yeah, I forgot to finish my story about horror in the high desert. My painful. I'm just going to do a whole lot of analogies again. Sorry, a whole lot of metaphors and analogies. But I forgot to finish my story about horror in the high desert. This film that I was watching Saturday night, and I was talking about how it turned out it's a mockumentary. And I'd walked in halfway through it and thought it was real. My wife didn't know it wasn't real either. She didn't know it was a movie. It was a fictitious thing. It was very, very convincing, I thought. And I'd stormed out in a huff. But I'd meant to put the bins out and said, if you want to keep watching it, that's fine. But I'm not watching a guy get murdered. We told us that the guy that was, the kind of protagonist, he was going to die. He'd been killed. His body had been found, mutilated. But he'd recorded this footage. It hadn't been found in his camera. At night time of his attacker. Of a person killing him. I thought, I'm not going to watch this. Didn't realise it was just made up. Didn't realise it was so well done. I felt so. First of all, I didn't realise it's actually a franchise, and there's been about 4 of these things that have been made. I think we're on the 4th one just now, so get into that if you will. But also, I need to point out that I left. I walked away from this. Rangers fans don't do walking away. Well, we do from when we think we're going to watch somebody dying live or in real life, losing their life on television. So I walked away before we saw the assailant jumping out of the woods and getting them. Because if you've watched this film, you'll think, Alec, how could you ever think that was real when the guy it was supposed to be somebody who was deformed that was killing them. This fella had lived, it was hiding out in the Nevada deserts because he'd facial deformities, and therefore he didn't want life was being cruel to him, and he didn't want to mix with other people. And this fella and his kind of wild camping blog had happened upon his hut by accident. So the guy with the deformities was tracking him down to kill him, And when he comes out, so the minute I found out, I looked up on the internet when I was still in the huff with my wife. How can you watch that? How can you watch that when it's somebody dying? I looked up on the internet to see that the guy who'd done the murder had been caught and executed, and that's when I found out it wasn't real. But when I saw so I immediately watched it back. So let's kill myself laughing. We're having a right good laugh at me as per usual. So we then went back and watched it again, knowing that it was just fiction. And then the fella who's the murderer appears. It's just ridiculous. He's like something for the Goonies. It's preposterous. It's well, if you've watched that and you saw it, you'd be thinking, like, how could you have possibly been fooled into thinking this was a real thing when the makeup on the guy was so bad? But I think the point is you have to hang in there for the whole journey. I should have hung in there for the whole journey. If to make any kind of true substantive judgment on what you're watching, I'm not just talking about the film here, just subtle stuff, Alex, subtle stuff. If it got quite kind of quiet in the stands over the last few months, so if you're creeping back to Ibrox to watch Rangers again, don't start criticising Rangers because you only follow teams who are 3-0 up by half time. Because if you're doing that as a Rangers supporter, no, you've copped out like I copped out of watching that film the other day. You've missed if I'd hung on and just saw that, I'll never know. Would I have sussed it out straight away when the murderer appeared and he had such ridiculous makeup on that it was obvious he was a murderer? And that in itself would be a wee thrill. Oh God, it's made up. It's just terrible makeup. This guy hasn't really died. He's just an actor. But if you're doing that at Rangers, you're just copping out when the team on the playing right. It doesn't suit you. It's getting a bit depressing for you, whatever. But you don't want to see us lose, and you don't want to see the bad stuff. And you're coming back because we've got ourselves back in contention. We've put together a wee run of results. Well, don't start moaning at the team with an 3-0 up at half time, because A, you're not helping the team do anything. You're not helping us by spreading your kind of spoiled Wayne vibes. And B, you've no idea how improvement works. You've no idea how football teams are improved because you're never hanging around to see it. It's only failure, I'm out of here. or success. Yeah, I'm on this. This is all about me. Rangers are winning. That's fine. I'm all about winning. So I'll start watching them now. It's very entitled behaviour. You've got no conception or appreciation what's required to get from one state of affairs to the other, to get from a team failing to a team winning again, because as soon as they start winning trophies, the place gets infected with glory hunters. So you also miss out on that lovely atmosphere. It's a lovely moment watching a football team where you see them transitioning, as we are transitioning just now, from crap, drawing most of our games, to winning most of our games. And not being convincing, not being particularly, still not quite convincing as that they're going to win the league, but so much closer to getting it. You're watching the actual process of improvement. It's a beautiful thing to watch as a football supporter. It should really interest you, but this turning up, and just because there's a few folk that you don't see a lot of Rangers games these days, and it's just, they're just there to fucking moan. You know, see, if you go to every game, you can moan as much as you want, as far as I'm concerned. But before perfection becomes expanded, when you get to see the true talent of our head, you're at that stage where, you'll get an extra layer of support turning up now, who just like, I'm here because we're winning all the time, so I expect us to be winning all the time. But in this particular time, as we're transitioning from failure to winning again, you get to see what our head coach is actually doing. You get to see the talent he's got, playing out in front of you as this team becomes more and more difficult to beat, and then more and more kind of guaranteed to win. If I'd hung in there on Saturday night with that film I was watching, I'd have perhaps had the most enjoyable moment of that movie, the moment you realise it is a movie and not a documentary. In just the same way I was telling everyone that the Russell Martin era, the catastrophising, the drama in the stands was always a mockumentary. Either he was going to start winning games, Russell Martin, or he'd be gone. My wife was right on Saturday night that the Netflix would never show an actual murder on screen. And I was right that the 49ers wouldn't allow failure for any longer than the time necessary to double check that it actually is failure and not just the kind of building in process of revolutionary change. Like the makeup of the baddie in Horror on the High Desert, the football under Russell Martin was so pathetic that the whole thing fell to pieces, and did so quickly that there was nothing to fear. He was being replaced by the end of October. Nothing to fear. Just a little embarrassment for us all to get over because of our behaviour, like going out to take the bin out in a big stroppy huff because you're finding the film a bit scary. And as someone who's been watching Rangers all season, I can testify, just in case you think I'm making it that I'm perfect when it comes to my attitude towards Rangers, I can testify to being 100% hysterically hypocritical as to Nico Raskin. I've gone from sell, he's the problem, Russell Martin's sorting him out, Russell Martin needs to get rid of him to have a proper United dressing room, to keep Nico Raskin, don't let anybody make a late bid for him in this transfer window. He's absolutely brilliant. Nobody's perfect or totally smooth right now, but he's putting in amazing shifts, Nico Raskin, and not getting a break at all. He didn't get any time off, didn't get subbed off on Sunday at half-time as I thought he might do, just to give him a break. He's putting in amazing shifts to keep us all moving in the right direction. The only thing I would say is, with him having that number 43 in his back, and being the same kind of build I've noticed from the stands with my poor prescription glasses, same kind of build as Mikey Moore, who plays 47. And they've both got the socks kind of rolled down a bit, and they have that thing of getting stuck in there and taking the ball and turning and speeding away. I sometimes get them mixed up. So maybe I'm doing like Real Madrid did when they bought Thomas Gravesen from Everton, and they thought there's a bald guy in midfield's doing great, and Everton are saying they're no telling them that it's Lee Carsley and Thomas Gravesen in midfield, both bald guys in the midfield running about, looking exactly the same. So maybe I'm just getting the two of them confused. I think Nico Raskin's having a great time just now because I'm also thinking Mikey Moore is doing as Nico Raskin. Sports scenes. The other thing that I think a way of realising that Rangers are properly in the hunt for a title, is you get the glory hunters coming back to Ibrox, but you also get what Celtic have started doing. Just Jonathan Sutherland on Sports Scene all night, and the highlights of the Celtic game, reviewing the first red card Celtic have had in, was it 87? It was a world record, 87 domestic games or something like that. I don't want to make a big deal of that because was it 68 games we went without conceding a penalty or something? So it's, it's just the old firm being the old firm. We're just much better at football than everybody else in that league. It's not a problem for me, but it just seems a bit weird when you haven't had a red card for that long to make such a big deal about it. I think Jonathan Sutherland was saying that it's interesting to think how these things will affect a league race, these kind of decisions. Just what, and certainly Martin O'Neill has set it up. He's having a chippy comment about blue card. It was more of a blue card than anything else. That's the first time he's fucking dropped points as Celtic manager. That's the first points he's dropped in his 2 spells as Celtic caretaker manager this season, Martin O'Neill, and it's a conspiracy. Celtic have won 13 of the last 14 league titles. It's a conspiracy. First red card in 87 domestic games or league games, whatever it is. It's a conspiracy, though. 4 successive trebles, then another treble under Postecoglou. Was it something like 5 trebles in 7 seasons? But it's a conspiracy. Everybody's out to get them. That's going to be the reason we're getting told why they don't win the league. If Celtic don't win the league this season, that red card, which was, you could see, I think the argument for both cases, why it is a red card and why it might not be. It wasn't exactly a cut and dry horror decision. But it's not the fact that they hired a manager who lost 4 of his 6 league games in charge. At home to Rangers at the end of his career at Celtic, the team that are now in second place, at home to Hearts at the start of his career at Celtic, who are at the top of the league. And the fact that they're playing Hearts, who have been top of the league all season, are the form team in Scotland. They've got a draw there. It was a kind of hard game. They got a guy sent off, trying to keep it as a draw, trying to keep it as a Celtic victory. It's nothing to do with it. It's just because of a conspiracy. So I feel that's when you get started. It's quite kind of, you get the butterflies in the stomach. Celtic are starting to bitch and slander everybody else. They must be, they'll rather burn the whole game down than let anybody else win at it. And don't get me wrong, we've had our own dossiers and stuff like that as well. We've had moments where we go a wee bit protesty to the SFA or to the authorities, but with good reason. It's just that kind of, Peter Lawwell's no longer there, but Martin O'Neill's very much a Peter Lawwell, very much of the Peter Lawwell era, that thing of just burn it all down. I'm just an outgoing, lovely, chirpy, cheery guy until the minute we have any kind of setback, in which case I'll just destroy everything like the petulant fuck I am. He says, quoting Martin O'Neill, not himself. So the Glory Hunters turning up at Ibrox to hold, to kind of start slagging Rangers. It's one of the surest signs we're ahead of Celtic in the title race. This makes it real. This does make it very real. But I was watching that documentary on Yacht Rock. It's on Sky. I've seen a few things on Yacht Rock, and I love a bit of Yacht Rock music, even before I knew it was Yacht Rock music. But there's nothing like defining a genre to make you feel you can get in there and really enjoy it with no fear of embarrassment or whatever. But I like a bit of Yacht Rock music, and there's somebody at the start of this documentary. It's a music box, the music box series on Sky. You can just get it for, if you've got a Sky package, I didn't have to pay any extra to get it. But this guy's a musician, I can't remember who he is, and he's defining what yacht rock is. And he says, it's rock, but it's not rock. It's rock. So he goes from he's using it, if you're just listening to this, he's using the Death's Head, the devil's horns rock sign to say what yacht rock isn't. And it's just a couple of thumbs up and a nice cheery smile to define the kind of rock that yacht rock is. And I'm thinking Rangers are a bit yacht rock just now. We're not hardcore rock. We're not proper rock and roll. It's very yacht rock. It's lovely. It feels safe. It feels nice. It's just sailing along. It's beautiful. But it's not. I don't know if we're quite at that point yet. Where there's Kenny Loggins, and they do a list of, or they show that there is a list. There's a metric for what is a proper yacht rock song, and the most yacht rock of yacht rock songs is What a Fool Believes, the Doobie Brothers, and it's Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald who kind of co-wrote that. And Kenny Loggins features quite a lot in this, as you would imagine, features a lot in this documentary, and he talks about how he went on the Rumours tour. He was the support act for Fleetwood Mac on the Rumours tour. The Rumours album, one of the greatest albums of all time, certainly one of the biggest selling ones. But they're not yacht rock. Fleetwood Mac, they're not yacht rock. It's too much actual rock. But I thought that's absolutely perfect. That sums it up, because Rumours it's not just about the music. It's a kind of music that makes me feel. I remember like my mum and dad's, because mum and dad had me when they were quite young. So they were still, me and my sister, so they were still having parties and stuff, like having other pals around. And they're all lovely folk, my aunties and uncles. My dad's got like 4 sisters, younger sisters, and that. So their boyfriends and all that. They would be coming and we'd meet all these guys. It was great. And it was like the 70s. My sister and I were kids. I can remember this. Like, my memories start running about the kind of mid to late 70s as a kid, and you just play these parties on a Saturday night or a Friday night or whatever, and there was music going. And it was all folk, in the days, no folk get married younger, but they all get their best of gear on and stuff like that, and they're all playing their favourite songs, and quite, it seems super sophisticated to me, and that's how Rumours makes me feel, because it's that era, they're the same kind of age, and that just safety, it's lovely, it's glamorous, it's fun, but essentially it's kind of safe as well, because we're kids, we were the centre of attention, and I thought that's what it is, and that's obviously bled down. They've taken the surfeit of that, like Coldplay took the surfeit of what Radiohead do. They can't go any deeper than that, but that's what Yacht Rock is. It takes the surf, it skims off the top of Fleetwood Mac's Rumours, and it just lets it infiltrate. But it's also coming up the other way in Yacht Rock is black music. And there's lots of good stuff about black musicians saying the first time they saw like the Doobie Brothers, they were shocked that they were white, that kind of stuff. But they've got the love of black music, your yacht rock musicians, and a lot of them are black. They're kind of backing the session musicians and a lot of the yacht rock groups. But it's mostly white guys, it's very middle class, and it doesn't have the peril of the black experience, the black lived experience. That's not in there. So it's just safety. It's a celebration of safety, calmness, niceness, and slightly boring. It's very staid, and I wonder if this is with Rangers just now. We're not like a title winning team. Basically, I can't watch a single documentary or anything without comparing it to Rangers, without working out how this is some sort of bearing in my love of Rangers. But I don't know if it's a title winning team. The form says yes. Our form just now says yes. 6 straight wins in the league and just no conceding goals at all. But I don't feel myself as if 100%, or even 60% of our support are properly believing that we're going to win the league this season. I feel the feel good just now. Feel good feeling is more about continuing the positivity to apply more and more of a salve. It's not even so much the positivity as the getting rid of the negativity from the beginning of this season, but also going right back to 2012. That's slowly dissipating. And we're on a roll just now of not wanting that repair, the feeling of being repaired, of everything being okay, nothing bad's happening to us. I think that's what it is just now. It's a kind of safety feeling. But to do that, for Rangers fans to keep feeling good, to do it to a standard that, for Rangers, that inevitably means we're going to get towards the top of the Premiership table. For Rangers to win enough SPFL Premiership games to cheer up our support, to keep our support happy, will mean Rangers being where we are now, second top, pushing for first. And we've all grown sick of Rangers kind of copping out as soon as we look like winning the title. That's what the celebrations was about. It was more about us not copping out, I think, on Sunday. Copping out of the title race, as opposed to us definitely going to win the league, us feeling that we're going to win the league. It's a continuation of the good feels. If these phenomena can be separated at all, Rangers fans feeling good but having nothing to do with winning the league. Sunday was all about maintaining the feel-good factor by maintaining the possibility of winning the title, but merely as a kind of underlining of our progress under Danny Röhl. There's a reckoning coming. Doesn't matter what happens. There is a reckoning coming. If we don't slip up at Easter Road or at home to Kilmarnock, we'll then go and play Motherwell at Fir Park. And they're going so well this season, Motherwell. They're not out of the title race either. I think we have it in our head. We're so used to it being Celtic first, Rangers second. But a big gap, too big a gap for us between Celtic and ourselves, but also too big a gap for everybody else behind us. And that's not happening. It's not just about Hearts being up the top of the league. Motherwell keep hanging on there at the back end as well, ready to suck Celtic down, ready to suck ourselves down. But if there's no kind of reckoning and no slip up in this feel good, it will ruin the feel good feeling by just dropping points at Easter Road against a poor Hibs team or at home to a really struggling Kilmarnock team. Well, we're playing Motherwell, so we're going to have to get down to it. That would be pretty convincing. If we were to be able to beat Motherwell at Fir Park, the form they're on, that would be major. And even if that goes according to plan, it's then Hearts at Ibrox. The team that's top of the league, they'll probably still be top of the league then. You're playing the league leaders. It's statement time. But right now, I think just give us a few more days of that Yacht Rock vibe. The win at Parkhead can't be discounted in terms of the league table. or the glorious kind of memories for the fans and the players we got that day. But it was instantly dismissed by Celtic fans and players with the dismissal of Wilfried Nancy. This loss wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened if Martin O'Neill had been the manager. So it doesn't really count. And they're right. I think they're probably right. We certainly wouldn't have won 3-1 the way we did if Martin O'Neill had been manager of Celtic that day. And Celtic's display at Tynecastle was dogged. The highlights I saw, almost victorious. O'Neill's first dropping the points, as I say, in his time in charge of Celtic this season, and it came at the home of the league leaders. Celtic were down to 10 men, and they just played in the Thursday night. Hearts had a free week, and they'd played in the Thursday night, a really tough game also involving them being down to 10 men in Bologna. But Hearts didn't have Shankland or Devlin, so perhaps the great draw Celtic might claim it was, if they are indeed. It's not so. It's not just so great, but I think Celtic are still favourites to win this title. We've got Hibs at Easter Road, as I say, and they'll have something to prove after they get humped by Falkirk. We've got them on Sunday. I hate it when Hibs are in bad form when we rock up there, because it suits their kind of mentality, I think. And Motherwell, geez, we can't quite get rid of Motherwell at all, can we? They've already beaten Celtic, and Hearts haven't beaten them. Their two clashes this season have ended in draws. So they want our scalp. They want to stay unbeaten versus Hearts and the Old Firm at home. Well, Motherwell, we need new signings, and we should buy 3 Motherwell players out of tactical necessity. Just get them. Maybe they're not doing it for Rangers, but just get Mash when he's saying a few other midfielders. If I hadn't told him you were active, we'd never have got we'd never have got the cottage. If we don't get active again in this window, we might not get this season's holiday house in the country, which is the league title. There's a bit of a problem amongst Rangers fans with the lack of goals we're scoring, but that's our third 3-0 win in the league under Danny Röhl. Kilmarnock away, Dundee at home. And we've done this kind of step change thing. We're winning 2-0, now we're winning 3-0 in the league. Jack Butland did nothing to do versus Dundee. I think it was 15 shots to 4. They had to make 9 saves. Or we had 9 shots on target. Dundee only had 1 shot on target. So the struggle for 90 minutes on Sunday, does that mean we're lacking goal scorers, we're lacking line breakers, or what? Well, first of all, the fact that we keep going despite Dundee pressing us everywhere, and despite us being a bit slack in attack and Dundee stopping our creativity, it's not just admirable and encouraging, but that ability to keep going even though the game is not going our way is proof of what Röhl is doing right, and it's also the very thing that we always demand of our Rangers team. Just keep going. If you just don't give up, if you just keep going, you've got the talent. You're paid more money than these guys. If you just keep going, you will eventually get there, and that's what they've done. They've just kept going. Our 2 new signings actually slowed us down on the day, but the 2 new signings were straight in from the start of the game on Sunday. It's what I wanted, but I hadn't, of course, as usual, thought it through. They're rusty. Scott Wilson hadn't played since November, and the 2 of them, Scott Wilson and Chuck Whanney, have got to get up to speed with their new teammates, the new tactics, who can do what and how they fit into that. I don't even know half their teammates' names in a given game situation, but it's done. The debut starts have been given. The bedding in process has begun for these players, and we more than got away with it, winning the game by 3-0. It's yet another instance of Danny Röhl brilliantly gambling with squad rotation. We will reap the benefit of these new signings in the coming weeks and months because they've started playing for us. Now, Majowski is maybe not getting the service, or he's just not good enough. I don't think so. I think it comes from the sitters, the 6s to the 10 to the creation in the left and right hand side. I know I love Gassaman, I love Mikey Moore, what have you. Scott Wilson hopefully is going to step it right up, but I think we can get more from all of these areas, and I think a good 6 will solve that. Will help us push Nico Raskin up to help everybody. And I want another striker rather than a replacement for Majowski. I want somebody in addition to Majowski who I still think could be good for us. Danny Röhl's post-match presser after the Dundee game, he said we had too many players behind the ball in the first half, and we discussed that at half time, so a bit of problem solving there. Instant reaction, we saw at the start of the second half, we played much better. Well, we were losing the ball in transition moments, but Dundee had virtually no shots on our goal, so we're good against the ball. Joshua Barry was asking him about pursuing strikers in the transfer market, transfer window, and again he did this thing, Danilo does it brilliantly, where he just kind of doesn't balk at the question at all and seems to be taking it on board, but he just goes on to discuss how we can do much more to score goals than merely signing players. He just talks about the current squad all the time. He doesn't say we need this and we need that. He just says, no, see if we did more in the final third, better decision making, we would get more goals that way. I've noticed that as a problem. We're certainly working on it. He plays it really, really nicely. He praised the defence and the sixes in front when it came to the clean sheet. He praised the two debutants, picking out their particular moments of contribution. So he's got stuff to nail his praise onto them. He's not just being nice for no reason, while also emphasising that they will get better as they play more, and that the players he inherited, Danny Röhl, the team that Skov Olsen and Chukmani have come into, they're the ones that are doing really well. He's careful not to rock the boat too much. Someone noted one of the hacks, I don't know who it was, one of the journalists, I don't know if it's a Rangers podcaster or whatever, but somebody asked the question that he'd noted Danny Röhl shouting at the players from the touchline. I don't know if he's kind of trying to put words in the head coach's mouth, but he says, is the message there that you work hard or you won't be in the team? This was the bit where he said, I'm a guy who be on the front foot. I want my team to be on the front foot. He's very matter of fact about it. He says, we have to push our limits. We have to push our limits. Work for the team, not yourself. The main message has been, as Danny Röhl was saying, for the squad, you got to work for the team, not for yourself. If you come on, you must always perform. That's a really good line. If you come on, you must always perform. And he praised the 8 wins and the clean sheets as well. It's always a bit of give, a bit of take, a bit of carrot, a bit of stick from him. He does it beautifully and seamlessly. Stevie Clifford of the Four Lads podcast and of Rangers Review, he asked Danny Röhl what was pleasing him the most just now with this run we're on, and he says it's the improvement. It's the improvement since he arrived at the club. The hard work. The players are really humble, and we want to be the hunter. This whole the part about the hunting. We want to be the hunter on the pitch with our pressing and also hunting the teams around us in the table. If we can be in the front foot as well, we're going to have a lot of fun. We'll have a lot of fun. Now, that's one of those ones where if you read it, if it's certainly, I think the Daily Record and the Sun would go to town with all that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's just one of these moments where Danny Röhl, it's his translation of a German phrase into English. It's the nearest English phrase he can find. I mean, we're always talking about, what do we always say over here that kind of sounds like that? You know, the pack, yeah, they're kind of chasing the pack. That's very hunter language, so maybe it's a translation directly of something in German that's very similar. But the way Danny Röhl says it's very matter of fact. It's very kind of down to earth. But that whole thing, if we're on the front foot, we'll have a lot of fun. You know, just go for it. The way we did in the second half at Parkhead, just fucking go for it. You know, I thought that was really nice. He was asked about Bailey Rice. Stevie Clifford also asked him about Bailey Rice, and he just basically said, "We'll see how he recovers from his injury, and then we'll see if we want to keep him or not." So that was basically the response there. Asked about the reaction of the fans at the end, Danny Röhl said he notices the stands are kind of fuller for longer. So I don't think he's having a go. I think he's saying that's nice. It's a big distance between the fans and the group of players when he arrived. Was it, say, 40, 50 metres? I'm assuming it was a metaphor. Now we're all much closer. That was nice. We can go forward together. It was good stuff, this interview. But again, he just dials it back with, but it's still a long way to go. 8 wins in a row is a statement. But if we can continue like this and do our homework, then yes, it's on. And again, that's the Hunter line. It's on. But it wasn't. It's on. Come on. It's live. It's on. Let's have it. He barely, almost kind of whispered it. He was like moving on to the next question. It was almost distracted. But if we can keep playing like this, it's definitely on. Definitely. I got a chance to win the league. I can't argue with the fact that we're 4 points off the top of the table. If we keep playing like this, it's on. You know, but it was. He did say it's on, and he was asked about James Tavernier. Scoring the 100 goals, and his response was he knows his role. His first thing he said was James Tavernier. He knows his role. It's important. He helps his group. I spoke to him about leading the group, the players. Even when he's not playing, he's a leader. It's a young group. He's got the experience. Is he actually ignoring the fact that Tav's just scored his 100th league goal? And you're thinking, is Danny, this whole suspicion I've had that there's maybe troublemakers in the dressing room, or that the players just decide to get rid of various managers when there's a clique there that Tav and Nico Raskin are at the head of, and this is Danny Röhl laying down the law that he is the manager, he's the captain of this particular ship. I don't know. I doubt it. I think it's just I think that's the way this Rangers team approaches things. It's very down to earth. Eventually, at the end of this response, the milestone itself of Tav getting 100 league goals, he said if he takes the responsibility to score in the right moment, then it's great. And it's a lot of goals for a defender. It's nice to see. It just it felt so kind of cool, you know. And then Tav, his post-match interview, he was put out for the press as well after the Dundee game. Also very cool and low key. He thanked everyone who helped him in his career to get to this point of scoring 100 league goals. But Tav being Tav, it's Tav being Tav. The guy's he's very cool at pressers. He's kind of matter of fact. He's got a kind of monotone speaking style. He's not a public speaker. He's a football player. You know, there's a real drive and determination underlying what he's saying. And he's talking about needing to retain focus and the need to back ourselves as a team. There's a lot of young players, and after a poor start with all the draws, it was great to be in a bit of better form. Great poor start to the season. It's great to be in this kind of win and run, but we have to continue doing what we've been shown. We have to continue doing what we've been shown. That's the only kind of outright praise for the coach, but also a kind of tipping of the hat to Danny Röhl as well. You know, it's tacked on at the end, and almost exactly the same way the head coach's praise for Tav was tacked on at the end of his answer to a question praising his captain. It's low key, it's nice, it's safe, and we should enjoy this kind of sailing feeling while it lasts. Porto, the Porto on Thursday, with us out of the competition, but with a win under our belts last Thursday in this competition, maybe the safest possible scenario for the run of clean sheets and victories to end. But in a good way or a bad, this run of verse chorus is heading for a bridge, folks. We might need to lower those sails, might need to flick on that engine, but this boat is very much about to rock. Right, troops, I will see you tomorrow for more dirty dance floors and dreams of naughtiness and discussion about the coefficient points table and the statistical significance of our fourth trip to Porto, maybe perhaps being the first time we'd scored more than a single goal. We've drawn one each in both of the last games we had at the Drugget. It's rock and roll. I'm total rock and roll.